Hello everyone, welcome back to DigifoxLabs. I'm Mr. Fox. Today we're going to be talking about the BTC and USDT chart. Now, we are not financial advisors, nor are we giving financial advice. Everything said here is 100% our opinion. Now, it is key to note that we don't really focus on Bitcoin on this channel. We focus on other projects, more certainly focused on altcoins and even NFTs. And lately our narrative has been the Solana blockchain NFTs. Now, why is Bitcoin important? Well, if you don't know, Bitcoin is probably more than likely the mover for the whole crypto space. It is the original, it is the king. Now, with that said, whenever Bitcoin takes a massive drop, such as right here and such as right here, we see a whole sell-off in the crypto space. Now, it is interesting enough to note that if you don't know that the Bitcoin price and the whole crypto space is actually tied to traditional markets. So if the stock market goes down like it has been doing for the past couple months, we see cryptocurrency. Why is that? Well, according to Raoul Pal, which we unfortunately do not have a snippet, but maybe we'll provide that in the future. But he indicated that they are connected, and it is important to know that it is a risk on asset. So whenever you have retail investors or even middle or even big hedge fund managers or banks invested in the crypto space, it is classified as a risk on asset. So growth stocks, for example, the whole pharmaceutical companies, the whole CRISPR stocks, the whole AI stocks that are roughly around $5, $6, $7, $10, right, in the stock market. And this goes for every exchange in the world. So the London Stock Exchange, the Toronto Stock Exchange, they have a transition of growth stocks, which would be the innovation stocks, and they transition out of that because it's high risk, because the business hasn't been tested yet, right? Not like Apple and Microsoft. They transition to safer stocks such as Disney, such as Apple, such as Microsoft. Usually things that give you dividends and in companies that have been around for long periods of time, such as Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So that is why we see a dip in the crypto space, as it is a risk on assets. So why are we talking about Bitcoin and the trading view website here? So let's look at this, right? We see here that it is, and we actually have stuck by this narrative, and we have been pretty much dead on with our trading analysis on Bitcoin. You can see here that we drew this falling wedge, and we actually produced a video about 2-3 weeks ago, starting roughly around this area, indicating that, hey, you know what? It looks like it's going to form a falling wedge. And sure enough, it did come all the way down to this end of the bottom of the wedge. Now, if you don't know, the falling wedge is actually a very bullish pattern. Why is that? Well, if you look right here, it's going to go and it's going to come all the way down here. Now, we're not saying that it's going to come all the way down here, because as you can see here, this wedge can go further down, probably to the 25,000 region, depending on how skinny and how much this Bitcoin price bounces within this triangle. But what's key to note, that every single falling wedge has produced a bounce to the upside in quite dramatic form. Right here, if you can use your imagination, well, actually, we could go ahead and draw you one right here, actually. If you see this right here, look at this right here, okay? And you can see that this is probably what it looked like prior to the bounce, right? So that's a falling wedge, right? This is as well as a falling wedge, right? Come right here, probably retest it there, and then let's see, where's the bounce at right there. So probably with something like this, right? Something like that. So it looks like a falling wedge, and it creates a squeeze, if you will, and it produces upside. Now, how much upside? Well, the way you measure it really is from the top to the bottom, and you add it. So you essentially get this measurement from right here to right here, right? And then you just add it on top of the breakout area. So unfortunately, Bitcoin has not broken out yet. We did sort of start to break out right here, but then we started collapsing back down, and then we're still in the wedge. Now, this is very key to note, okay? So we do feel that, let's get rid of this right here for a minute, okay? All right, we do feel that the upside for this is going to test all-time highs and potentially on the third try break it, okay? So we see here that we keep bouncing our heads off of the top of this falling wedge. Now, what we predict is going to happen is it's going to break out like this. Let's go ahead and draw. It's going to break out somewhere like this, okay? Do this, and then up and away, right? We predict that's what's going to happen. So where exactly, we don't know. It could happen right here, it could happen down here. Either way, it's irrelevant. So what is key to know is when it breaks, we do not recommend you FOMO in. Wait for a retest. It always retests the top of the falling wedge, at which point then it takes off. Now you can see right here, it's done it right here. It retested it 1-2 days. You have 48 hours to get a position before you're off to the races. Right here, and this is the daily, mind you, okay? So you look right here, it did it for 1, 2, 3 or 4 days, so 72 hours before we went off to the races. So you do have time. So when you see the breakout, that is something you need to wait, because it could come crashing back down into the triangle like it did right here. So wait for 48 hours, 24 to 40 hours, and take a position, at which point then you dollar cost average. And unfortunately, you will have to be checking in. Now you have two options there, right? Dollar cost average in, or just dump all your money in that you want to invest in Bitcoin, right? So there's that. But now this also is an indicator that the crypto space as a whole is going off to the races, right? Now, Bitcoin is usually the first mover. Maybe Ethereum is the first mover. We don't have a complete decoupling of the traditional stock market. We don't have a complete decoupling between Ethereum and Bitcoin and altcoins or any NFTs, but it is in transition. So what is also bullish is that when this happens, it's going to trade sideways, right? So you see right here how it gets smaller within this wedge, and then it confirms, and then it goes off. Look at this base. This base went from roughly around right here, maybe like right here to right there, right? This right here is starting, right? So it could bounce around roughly for another week or two, and it will bring it roughly around to maybe like the early February, mid-February time frame before it actually blasts off. So that is also key to note. But what's going to happen is it's going to do this, right? It's going to do this. Right? It's going to be bouncing around up in there, right? What that does is it looks like it's going to form a bottom, right? Like a miniature stagnant area, which is equal to this, around the same price target. Now, it could come a little bit below, it could go a little bit above, but either way, you see two arrows right here, right? That is indicative of a double bottom. It will be a multi-month double bottom, at which point you have two verified bullish scenarios. A double bottom, which would be right here as a whole. So you're going to be looking at this right here as a whole, as a double bottom. At which point, when this plays out, you're going to have a stagnant sideways move within this region right here. At which point, when you zoom out like so, it looks like a massive double bottom on top of the utter clutterfuck that it looks like right now with all the drawings that I have here. So let's go ahead and clean some of this up, right? So it looks very much like a double bottom if you look at it, right? You have to zoom out, right? Everyone's curious as what's going to do in the next day or two, right? That's not at all what you got to do with Bitcoin. You got to look at it the long time frame. So if you look right here, we have a falling wedge, just like we had here, and it went off to the races all the way up to $67,000, $68,000. And now we see it forming a massive, more bigger wedge. And so this is where we believe here at DigifoxLabs that it's going to not only test the all-time highs of the upper 60,000s, but it's going to break it and potentially give a fib retracement of a price target of roughly around, and now we aren't exactly skillage, right? But we're looking at roughly around a price target of $89,000, so $90,000 of a Bitcoin. Not exactly the six figures that we were all hoping for, but that is what we're going on about. So if you're interested in getting a bit of Bitcoin right now, this will be your time, right? And dollar cost average in, and then when you get the confirmation, which we indicated earlier, the confirmation, oh my God. There we go. Once you get the confirmation, which is it's going to break out of this triangle and then retest and then bounce off of it and go up again. And from there, you hold it roughly around $90,000 for a Bitcoin. And then you take profit, okay? Now, because you don't really want to be holding the bag, you want to make some monies, Definitely take some profits around the 80,000 range, somewhere around there. Maybe at all-time highs, you know, so maybe like 3 levels, right? And this is perfect. You got the levels right here on your fib retracement. So you look right here, and you've got what, 59,000. So take profits around there. 67,000. Take profits around there, and then anywhere from 67 to 89,000, you should be taking more profits, right? And so your dollar cost averaging out of the market, not in, out of the market. So keep that in mind. So we are bullish on Bitcoin and the whole crypto space. There is plenty room for upside with everything going on in the world. Everyone is going to try and pump these markets for one last hurrah. So again, recap: double bottom, falling wedge, 2 scenarios of a bullish trend, right? And then it forms the infamous W pattern, right? Which is essentially a double bottom, okay? So keep that in mind. Happy days, happy trading, and good luck to you all.